Today, it's Prime Day again, and that means that there are large ticket items on sale on Amazon. But you can also find some great deals on card making supplies. Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Keppel, and in today's video, I'll share some of the things that I buy from Amazon for card making. I found some card making supplies that I didn't know were available on Amazon, and I found some uses for things that I've already shared as some of my favorite Amazon purchases. So let's dive right in and start taking a look at some of the card making supplies that you can buy on Amazon. First up are clear card gift boxes. So if you ever gift cards that you make as a gift to others, these are great. Now, recently I've used Gina K boxes, I've used Tonic Studios boxes, and those, I will admit, are much sturdier, they're bigger, you can fit more in there. These are much smaller, they're a lot flimsier. But this is just a gift box. It doesn't have to be a storage box. So you can see I have fit in a bunch of cards and envelopes, but it's pretty tight all around because I like to create cards with dimensions. So I have 5 cards and 5 envelopes in this gift box, and I'm just flipping through the cards so you can see the dimension and pop-up foam that I use on my cards. So they slide right in. It's actually a lot easier if you put them in one at a time, but you can slide them all in, and then they have little tabs on the sides and an enclosure at the top and the bottom. So you could put a bow around this. You could wrap it up if you wanted to, but I like how it's clear so you can see the cards inside, and I put one on the front and one on the back. They're really easy to put together. It's all scored for you and cut. So all you have to do is fold the tabs in, fold the sides in, and then close the bottom. Then you can put your cards inside, and then again, those little tabs at the side and the enclosure at the top. Like I mentioned, these are much thinner and less sturdy, but they're a great price point. Next up is the Spellbinders Universal Plate System. I've talked about this system before. I love to use it. I completely destroyed my platform and the top platform. I'm not even going to show you. It looks like it was chewed by a dog because I put them in at all kinds of angles and rushed through. So I wanted a new system and I wanted it fast. So I grabbed it on Amazon. I had no idea they had them. And this comes with a bunch of cutting plates, the platform top, the platform base, as well as a 3D adapter plate that embosses, and an embossing mat, as well as a shim. So for my normal die cutting, when I'm using thin metal dies, I use the platform, the top of the base, and then 2 clear cutting plates. For a 3D embossing folder, I have one right here from Spellbinders, put some cardstock inside. You're just going to have that platform base, then you're going to have your 3D embossing folder, and then you're going to put your adapter plate right on top. This is the perfect sandwich for Spellbinders 3D embossing folders. So it will come out perfectly, even if you just run it through one time. Sometimes I run it through twice, but you really don't need to. And there's no really hard jarring trying to turn that handle there. So it creates that 3D effect without a ton of handwork. Next up is a set of chamois. Now, I love all the chamois that every company has. I found a trio of chamois on Amazon. They come dry like this, so you can see it's just covered in plastic. You just peel that plastic off. Here's my old one. It's a pink one. It's ready to be washed. So I did wet a new one, this blue one here. And the thing that's great about a chamois is that you don't need any chemicals. It's super soft, but it doesn't have any fuzzy to it, so it doesn't get fuzz on your stamps that then transfer to your cards. So here I'm stamping up a stamp with Distress Oxide ink. You can see there's still ink on the stamp and the acrylic block, and I can just wipe it away with the wet chamois so that I'll be able to stamp a different color next. Here again, I have an even darker color. It's Villainous Potion, and you can see I have some on the acrylic block, some on the stamp, and I'm just using water on that chamois and wiping it away. Of course, these inks are water-based, so you can just wipe them away with water, but I love using the chamois. It's reusable. They last a long, long time. and they're just very easy to use. Now, years ago, I was watching Kathy Zielski on Instagram, and she mentioned keeping her chamois in a salt cellar. A salt cellar is this little container that you can use for salt to keep it fresh. But the cool thing about this is it doesn't snap so tight that it's not letting any air in, which means that the chamois doesn't get stinky or moldy. So it's open just enough to let in enough air, but to keep it moist. So you can absolutely re-wet it every single time. And if you leave the lid open, obviously it's going to dry out, but it will keep it on your desk. And the thing is, for me, when I don't have the salt cellar around, I tend to drop the chamois on my project and it creates wet marks. So if I'm working on something, I like to have the salt cellar nearby so I can just wipe off my stamps and then put the chamois in the salt cellar and keep everything dry and protected. Next up are clear card bags. These are great if you are bringing a whole bunch to sell individually, or if you want to package them individually to give them away or anything like that. These clear bags are large enough for A2 or 5x7 cards. So I like having these around just to wrap some individual cards like this. They're great for gifts or just like I mentioned to sell if you do that. Next up is the Spellbinders BetterPress system, and it is available on Amazon for a great price. And I absolutely love the BetterPress. If you've not heard of it yet, I am using it all the time. It is a letterpress system without the mess. So no paints, no inks that drop. You use a stamp pad like ink, and you ink up the plates on a magnetic platform, and then you tape your paper into place on the clear platform, and then flip that over, run it through your regular die cut machine like the Spellbinders Platinum here, and it instantly letterpresses a design. Now, if you don't know what letterpress is the fancy stationery that you see on wedding invitations and things like that. So it presses the image in, creates a debossed image, and leaves the ink in the valleys of that debossed image, which just creates the most gorgeous detail and fine lines that would be very difficult to achieve even with a stamp. So Spellbinders has a bunch of different designs and plates, and you can get them for all occasions. Years ago, a fellow card maker, Kelly Cool, introduced me to Quickie glue pens. She used to add little glitter accents on all her Copic colored images and characters, and I always thought it looked so cool. So the Quickie glue pen comes with a little stopper. You just peel that off, and then it is a blue kind of adhesive that is liquid that dries clear. So the great part about the Quickie glue pen is that it is a ballpoint pen, and that means that you can get into very fine areas and drop some adhesive in those tiny little spaces. So what you're seeing here is I'm coloring with the Quickie glue pen in the triangles inside the shape of the heart. So I can get smaller triangles than even what's stamped inside this small heart using the Quickie glue pen. So once you have a certain amount done, you'll want to pour your glitter on top before it dries. You can tell that mine is just starting to dry in a couple of places because it's turning from blue to going clear. So I want to make sure I put my glitter down before that happens. So I'll do about half the heart here before I use my glitter. Now, I love to use this with a very fine glitter because that's what's so neat about the Quickie glue pen is that you don't need anything thicker than this thin liquid line to create a glittered effect. So you can see I've got some on the side there just from static, but check out how I was able to draw those triangles and get them covered in glitter. I absolutely love this pen. The last one I had ran out because I had used it so much, so I actually bought a pack of them on Amazon. You can also do things like draw with this pen and then cover that in glitter or any other fine medium like that. Think flock, think glitter, think, those kinds of things. So I think that these are a great way to add just a teeny tiny bit of adhesive to your projects and then even add them to small areas on your Copic colored characters. Things like little wings on fairies or snow or pom-poms, things like that. So it is a great adhesive. Next up is the new and improved Glimmer Machine. Now, the new Glimmer Machine, I've shared this before. It looks a little different. It's got the silver or platinum edges, and these are the things that all came inside the box. I got a hot foil plate, I got a roll of foil, and I had all the platform and bases for the Glimmer Machine. Now, the reason that I love the new and improved is what I just did a little bit ago, which was pull out the platform base. Anybody who has had trouble with the original having trouble pulling out that platform base, the new one pulls out so easily. Next up is my favorite organizer that I've bought on Amazon. It's this nail polish organizer. I've used it to organize refill bottles for ink pads. In that case, I can fit about 12 of those small bottles in each row. So this whole thing fits about 48 ink refill bottles. You can also fit things like your Distress mica stain. You can fit Distress oxide sprays. Those are a little bit tighter. I've even put my Stamp Market ribbons. They come in 2 different sizes. So I put those in rows of this organizer as well. And I saw on Instagram, Leah Lawson from Ink Fresh Studio used an organizer like this to organize her foil rolls. I think that's absolutely brilliant. So these are all my Spellbinders foil rolls. You could put a little tab on the inside that tells you what color they are and what company they're from, so that when you're done, you can reorder them. But you can see how many you can fit on here. I have 10 rolls per row, which means I could fit 40 rolls of foil in this organizer. Next up are the Ohuhu dual tipped markers. I have shared these time and time again. I use them all the time. I use them more than I use my Copics now because the dual tip on these Ohuhu markers are brush tip on one end and fine tip on the other end, which means you can get into small spaces. If you're a beginning colorist, these are great. So they definitely blend beautifully. They are really juicy markers. So check that out. Between the red to the orange and yellow, I think is a beautiful blend from the green to the blue and the blue to that purple. Now, again, those are not necessarily colors that I picked that would blend well together. It's just that they're so juicy and so bright and pretty that they work really, really well. I find them very easy to work with, and anytime I'm doing coloring into stamped images, you'll see me using them. As you can see, there are tons of card making supplies that are available on Amazon and are great to add into your cart while you're doing your Prime Day shopping. In fact, I have another video where I focus on a bunch of other card making supplies that you can find on Amazon as well, and I'll link to that here. As always, I want to thank you so much for stopping by and spending time with me today. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you again soon. We're done. That's too many words. That's too much. Things that I buy on not prom. FedEx like came up to the sidewalk, slowed down, and then took off without leaving me a package. What's up with that?